everyone. My name is Adil, dialing in from my kitchen. I'm the General Manager of Business Solutions at AppLovin. At AppLovin, we enable developers of all sizes to market, monetize, analyze, and publish their apps. I run our software solutions, Max and App Discovery, and today I'll be your moderator for our session, Mobile App Marketing Insights for 2021 and beyond. With our panelists, we'll be discussing some of the burning questions faced by the mobile app industry and help you understand, prepare for marketing your apps in today's ever-changing mobile world. I'll go ahead and start by introducing our panelists today. First of all, we have Dom Davies. Dom is an independent mobile gaming consultant. He works with several top gaming studios to maximize the growth spend and monetization revenue. Over the last decade, Dom has focused primarily on mobile gaming, in-app monetization, user acquisition, and publishing. He's going to be providing us with his perspective on the trends that he has seen on both the advertising and the monetization side from a developer's perspective. Welcome, Dom.
Hi, Adil. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. And next up, we have Marcus Poe from Facebook Audience Network. Marcus is a strategic partner manager with Facebook Audience Network. At Facebook, Marcus consults with head of market app developers to enable their business growth through Facebook's demand solutions. With over a decade of ad tech experience, Marcus is very well versed in various aspects of advertising, including integrations, privacy, and yield. Welcome, Marcus. Glad to have you join us.
Hey, Bill. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Last but not least, we have Aykut Karaalioğlu. Aykut is the founder and CEO of Mobile Action and SearchAds.com. It's a leading app store optimization and marketing tool. It's currently the largest search ads partner for Apple, and he can speak to it in more detail. They've seen tremendous growth over the last year with the changes happening in our industry. He's a tech entrepreneur with 10 years of experience in mobile, internet, and the analytics space. Outside of that, fun fact, Aykut has quite a following. He might be the most famous out of us, all of us here. He's truly an Instagram tech celebrity. He'll be sharing his perspective as an influencer and as one of our industry experts today on how iOS 14 changes have affected App Store search ads business, how mobile advertisers can continue to sustain growth in 2021 and beyond. Welcome, everyone. Once again, thanks for taking the time and joining us today. Let's start with the burning questions, shall we?
Let's do it.
Yep. Dom, you're the first one up. You work with a lot of different studios, different genres and sizes. And I know you're responsible for making sure that they continue to run a profitable business, both with their UA and monetization strategies. I want to get your perspective on the iOS 14 release. What impact have you seen so far on both the advertiser and the publisher side? And if you can share any data or analysis, that would obviously be even better.
Okay, cool. Well, up first, there's no pressure there. Before I get started, I just want to put it out there that any opinions that I talk about today are mine and do not represent any of the studios that I'm partnered with. So on to the question. So when 14.5 was first announced, I think there were two major schools of thought around it. The first being, this is bad, how are we going to survive? And the second being, this is fine, we'll adapt, it's just an annoying bump in the road. Now that the release is actually here, I think most studios actually fall into the second group, at least the ones who were somewhat prepared. I can't speak for everyone, but I noticed a lot of the community was following Apple's guidelines and what they were putting out around SKAd network pretty closely. So that gave a lot of studios some room to prep. On the UA side, I want to say that it's kind of just been business as usual. Buying and monetizing LAT users isn't anything new. If anything, the 14.5 release has forced innovation in the world of attribution. A lot of MMPs started building models early on to leverage the data that we do have and become more concise and accurate. And if anything, these improvements are actually making the landscape more competitive on both sides. On the monetization side, the impact hasn't been as bad as everyone anticipated, likely due to the increase in competition that I just mentioned. Early on, most studios had data around the value of a LAT user versus an IDFA user. And we sort of had a benchmark of what sort of drop off to expect. And you can model it out with X opt-in percentage. Every ad unit sees a drop off when they lose a player to LAT versus IDFA. The hit to full screen was much larger and anticipated to be much larger. I think ballparked it was around 30%. But in reality, it's actually come out to be 15 to 25%. And a lot of that varies on the geo, the ad unit, type of game, etc. The ad units that are fueled by more of the brand buyers, native, banner, etc., they saw and were expected to have a much bigger hit. I think, and it was expected around 70 to 80%, but it's actually sort of netted out to be around 40 to 60, and even that number is getting smaller as well. I hope that answers the question.
I think it does. But this one's for you. I want to get your perspective mainly for this question, specifically for the search ads business, since you've been working very closely with Apple for a long time now. Folks were anticipating that this change in our industry would explode the spend in your particular business area. Want to hear what really happened. Did that really realize to what was expected, or what were some things that you have seen on your end?
Yeah, same thing. Like Dom, everything I'm going to share, it's my opinion, and then there are companies like best practice or what we're seeing to our clients and then our big spenders. I mean, we kind of knew that as like search, because according to Apple, and I've been in the App Store optimization space almost like 8 years. We know that is like app discovery is top. And then 65 to 70% of app discovery is still like keyword search. I mean, all the UA campaign and everything is still ending up the App Store listing page, and App Store listing page is kind of limited space. And conversion rate and everything it's relatively similar for the specific categories or specific countries, and there's not so much room to improve. But after the new changes, since the last year Q4, we were seeing that because that iOS 14 delay to 14.5, whatever it is, like it just like see the market. Okay, let's try and see. And then still Apple Search Ad was limited in the beginning, 2018, 19, 2020, the year. We see the more countries today. Just China, they announced the China, so China will be the huge. And the category wise, I mean. We always hearing and seeing that the Apple Search is one of the cheapest option, and then also most engaged and loyal users, because people who come to search, especially non-game apps, they're looking for a specific app, and they're high LTV and high ROI users. But now since April, we're seeing that a lot of game companies, they're shifting their UA budget from other ad networks to the Apple. At least they're starting like some brand keywords or their competitor names, or they're testing using Apple Search's A/B testing module. But recently, I think a month ago, Apple also launched A/B testing option. That sounds like now like you can have more than 30, I think around 35 product pages. So if you do all together, you can see that is like search ads. It's getting more and more serious about to get the UA budget of the marketers and the publishers. But still, we see that the number of spenders, not so. I mean, if we compare the other ad network, it's still tens of thousands of ad companies already taking advantage. But we're seeing that this is going to be hundreds of thousands of apps, hopefully sooner and through my platform. But that's all. Yeah, I can see that for now.
Well, let's share that with the audience. A few minutes before we started, we were talking about how you're going to take us all out to lunch, maybe not for a day, but for the whole year. So we're all waiting for that. Let's hold you accountable so that everyone.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's take a note. Like, let's not forget that. But yeah.
All right.
Developers, marketers, and advertisers all had to make updates to their apps and their campaign strategies. All of that has to prepare for the IDFA changes on iOS. Marcus, Can you walk us through what Facebook did to help prepare publishers, developers, marketers, and advertisers for iOS 14?
Yeah, thank you. And I'll just kind of give the same disclaimer as my friends before me in terms of opinions.
Now I feel like I should do it, you guys.
Yeah, right. But in my opinion, I think the thing that we really did great as Facebook in terms of preparing developers for iOS 14 was really educate them, right? Facebook serves as a business platform for a lot of these developers. And so what we really did is make sure that we educated them on updates to our business tools. To make sure that they can maintain as much a speed of business as possible. As Dom talked about earlier, you had a couple different positions, right? And so what we really wanted to do is make sure we had enough people in that kind of secondary category of being ready to anticipate the change and be ready to adapt with them. And I don't have like the time to go into kind of all the different things that had changed. Would definitely recommend anybody interested, just hit up the Facebook blog. But you can see, educational pieces on everything that's updated from, campaign creation to audience targeting, campaign delivery, and even measurement, right? And all those things, right, are very, very important. I mean, we talk about this app space and being able to use Facebook as a business platform. And then the final piece of it, when you talk about the monetization side, which I actually specialize in at Facebook, on the monetization side, again, diving into that education piece around the speed of business, we really have worked hard to educate publishers on the efficacy of bidding. When we look at just the speed of business, we don't think that there's a better solution, if you will, in terms of being able to analyze monetization and optimize monetization faster than bidding. So Facebook has also some, really great resources that, any publishers looking to learn more can go ahead and check out in terms of bidding. We have a bidding hub we just launched. If you go to the Audience Network homepage, again, we have links that'll take you there. So I would say anybody looking to learn more either on the business platforms or, the bidding side, both of those things are definitely available to go ahead and make sure that you're as prepared as possible to anticipate and, adapt to the changes as they come.
Sounds good. Shout out to the Bidding Hub, because I know your team spent a ton of time, and obviously we're one of the partners as well. So highly recommend it. Next one up. This is a juicy question for you, Dom. So get ready. The privacy changes were discussed as the apocalypse for our industry. Post 14.6 rollout, looking at the industry, where do you think we have landed on that? Was it really an apocalypse?
Okay, so change is always scary, especially when those changes keep changing. But I think one of the big things is that change leads to innovation, and I mentioned that earlier on. Do I think it was an apocalypse? No. I mean, the ecosystem is always evolving and changing. Big privacy changes come into effect, it seems like every few years. I still have nightmares thinking about back to GDPR when that was, right on everyone's mind. But I think we're at the point now with the 14.6 rollout where we have enough data to extrapolate what things will look like at full adoption. And it's not really as bad as everyone anticipated. From what I've seen, the value of LAT users are still going up. I don't think it's unreasonable to project that in 3-4 months' time, maybe even sooner, the value of a LAT user will be worth what an IDFA user is worth today, if not more. On the UA side, and I briefly touched on this, the measurement methodology for non-IDFA players is becoming more concise. And I think that's helping advertisers from really every corner of the industry navigate and continue to be able to buy efficiently. I mean, most of the improvements that I mentioned have been around probabilistic attribution and leveraging existing data. I think that's probably where I'd want to sign off on that question.
I'll add one more small question because Marcus mentioned bidding here, and I know that you work with a lot of demand partners as well. What do you think is the impact from your perspective of in-app bidding, specifically on the monetization side and overall on the stack, if there's anything, when we think about the future and the past regarding old iOS 14 changes? Any observations there?
In regards to bidding, bidding is becoming king. Basically what Marcus mentioned is that it gives the network access to every impression and not just be pigeonholed in their waterfall position. So by doing that, you're creating competition. The advertisers are getting a look at all different price points. So, they may not be getting priced out anymore and being able to still get their target audience at lower price points due to bidding. Bidding works on both IDFA and LAT. So, no one's being left behind on this.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
sort of where it's all going.
And another burning question for you, since you're so well educated on the matter, when do you think we're going to be fully bidded on the monetization side? If you were to guess,
if I had to throw a guesstimate out there, I would hope before the end of the year. But bidding, it takes a little bit of time. You move one ad unit from being mediated over to bidding, and sometimes it's a wash. But really, you want to get it out there when it's a lift. So we're testing some partners now who are still in their early phases, and they are definitely seeing positive results. But I think that at full, every network bidding, clear cut, no dispute that it's better than mediated lines, probably early 2022, Q2 maybe, optimistically. 2022.
Optimisticer. Okay, let me add my 2 cents on top of that. From the Max mediation side, and also as a demand partner on AppLovin side from App Discovery, I think I largely agree with what you said. Obviously, bidding, once you turn any demand partner from traditional mediation to bidding, it takes time for them to learn, scale, and be able to compete at scale. But if you asked me a year ago or 6 months ago, even when Max was first starting a couple of years ago, I would have said it's going to take a long time. But now, having seen and talked to every single demand partner out there, especially after the changes that are happening with iOS, I think there is a clear and fast movement in the right direction. And it's very encouraging. Obviously, it will take time for everyone to get up to speed and get to Facebook's level. But I'm very encouraged by the results we have seen. So I think the end of this year would be our timeline from our perspective. That's what we're walking towards.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Doug.
Marcus, go ahead.
I was gonna say I can send you guys both. I can send you guys both Facebook bidding T-shirts for those end of the year predictions. Man, I love them. I know as a network, right, we have moved to fully supporting or primarily supporting bidding right on iOS already, and we'll be doing so with Android later in the year. So those predictions are right in line with what I want to hear.
Yeah, definitely. I think you guys have led the way, and I think it really accelerated everybody else's move in that direction. So let's talk about this. Dom, you were going to say something. Sorry.
Oh, no, sorry. I was going to say kind of 2 things there now that we heard from Marcus. I can't imagine why anyone wouldn't use Facebook bidding. If you're on a platform that doesn't support Facebook bidding, you need to reevaluate what you're doing. And then to Adil's point of being on full bidding by the end of the year, yes, I think every bidder or every major network out there will be ready to bid at that point, but whether it's fully adopted by the end of the year, that is kind of where I'm unclear of. But yeah, like you said, it moves quickly, and I think it could be at a point where everyone is ready before the end of this year.
That's great. So that could be our next session. 3 months in, we could all get together again after our lunch that iQuid is going to pay for, and we're going to talk about how we encourage everyone to.
I don't know too much bidding except keyword bidding. So, but you guys, I'm bullish to learn more.
After this session, you'll know everything about it. There you go.
We'll teach you about it over lunch.
I like it.
Okay, there you go.
I love it. That's high ROI for him. All right, let's talk about the future a little bit in terms of what developers and app marketers can do. Marcus, what are some best practices or solutions publishers, developers can implement today to sustain growth?
So people probably don't want to hear this right after the last conversation, but just diving into at least the bidding piece, right? When we talked about people probably won't be fully on bidding at the end of the year, but likely testing. I think really not looking at bidding as the destination, but looking at it as the journey. because as you migrate to bidding, you're likely to see the demand footprint from your partners shift a little bit, right? Because you're going from the kind of pigeonhole that Dom talked about earlier to having people have full availability to all your inventory. And so right now is a really great time to start understanding your bid demand volume coming through these partners, because that is going to represent really a new metric for a lot of publishers, right? Because you will actually see how they're valuing all the various opportunities, not the 10% that they saw before. And so what you can look to do with that now is actually look at the various ad products that various demand partners offer, right? And actually make sure that you have integrations that have you fully vested in all of their various demand to make sure you have that largest bid demand volume that you could be eligible for as a partner, because that just drives up demand, drives up CPMs. And so as we start to see the convergence that Dom also talked about with LAT traffic and opted in traffic, right? All that starts to blend together to build your new marketplace that again can actually operate in one auction and not need to be siloed into various different waterfalls or anything else.
Yeah, agreed. Could not agree more. Bidding first and bidding only. I could, from your perspective, what are some best practices? Same question to you. Solutions they can implement in your world to sustain growth today.
Yeah, because I originally came from the App Store Intelligence and Insight platform, mobile apps and core business. Then we have the search ads. But before that, we always say that learn from your competitor, learn from the best players in the market. I mean, we see that from our ad intelligence platform. We have millions of creators, and we see like what is the new trend line, who's doing which, what the best practice in what kind of ad network, or like what is their performing creatives in an ad campaign. I can definitely tell, especially as SME mid-market, the apps, non-games or games, just keeping your eye for your competitors, and those are the one who has like talent house or like the knowledge pool, and then almost unlimited the resources, because those are the one either they test it and learn or keep doing it, and then when during their iteration time, you can literally still like an artist, and you guys are artists, so you can do that. And second thing is, and for the Apple search ads, I believe that is like this is going to be huge the platform for the discovery or retention or engagement, because now we have a still limited inventory in App Store, but recently search tab came, and it's kind of like a little bit expensive, but CPM model, the search ads is more like a bidding the keyword. I know a little bit about the bidding. That's part of the keyword bidding. And then still that part is, we always say intelligence and optimization is king. So more you know, and more you learn from your market and your competitor, and then see the best practice and all combination, it turned to be like more, and the market is especially the consolidation and all that tech and martech going on one single platform, and that's for like AppLovin or other, AppLovin's competitors. That's actually good for the market, because now you don't need to worry about where should I go, what I'm missing, and that FOMO is that actually it's missing out, because when you have one great partner like AppLovin or something similar, you'll probably all set. So yeah, as I said, like search ads technically, and Apple is going like almost like ad company, and then competitor insight, intelligence, and the right partner like AppLovin.
So this is more of a question that I just came up with because out of curiosity. You might not know the exact answer, but you might have an idea of the scale. In terms of within this year, in terms of the number of unique advertisers on your platform and number of, like essentially the amount of spend for those two numbers, how big was the growth? Are we talking about 2x, 3x, or are we talking about 10x, 20x?
Yeah. So us, I can tell this number, we grew like almost 6x from last year to this year. That's huge. And we were like even we just scratching the surface, and the overall space, and I can see it, and especially China. With the China, you can see it double it technically, and then still Brazil is not there. Like it's only like 52 to 53 countries overall in Apple searches. But I search ad is just like a small part of, I believe, what we can see that in future of the ads in Apple. But I still see that the player spenders, the numbers are relatively, it's like growing like last year, this year is almost like 2 to 3x, but still so many app companies, as the Marcus said, education is missing because no one really not know what they're doing. Everyone think that they're doing the best because benchmark numbers not really shared by Apple, and we are also kind of limited to share what we can. But hopefully, we can share more things and then tell all the companies this is the opportunity on top of their user acquisition. But it used to be, I'll end it this one. Last year, around like 5 to 10% of user acquisition budget was going Apple search ads. Depends on the company. Now we see that percentage around 20 to 30%. Depends on the companies still. Because think about you guys now, one country is actually equal 35 country. Because if you're gonna do the A/B testing for one country which is performing best, and that's now is more inventory option and then more spending. It's going to be crazier next year. That's what I can feel here for now.
Great, more lunches for us.
Yeah.
On to you, Dom. You're actively managing advertiser dollars right now. What are some incremental UA and monetization sources that emerged as an alternative to the existing ones that you were already working with after the ATT app transparency tracking transparency rollout?
And then this is both on the UA side, or do you want monetization too?
I think both would be great, but on the monetization side, it might be an easier answer. So let's just do both if you can.
Sure, we can do both. So the self-attributing networks were really the only ones that took a hit with regards to scale on the UA side. And what that meant was just having to shift budget elsewhere. We noticed that the networks who, have always had the ability to buy and monetize lap players, they continue to drive at an audience. And with them, I said this earlier on, business as usual. And it's just lots of creative testing there, iterating on whatever new best practices they come out with for billing models and following SKAd network, how all that ties in. IronSource, AppLovin, Integral, they've always had a strong lap presence and they're growing due to their ability to buy and monetize them. But channels that were sort of an afterthought, at least with some of the studios that I work with, we're seeing a lot of spend, a considerable amount going towards them. And that would be folks like Unity, Vungle, and a handful of DSPs. I'm sure there are plenty of other sources that I just haven't gotten around to testing yet. On the monetization side, the folks I just name dropped and gave a shout out to, in addition to the fiber network, have all made big strides on maximizing lap player ARPDAU, and they've helped fill in the demand gap from partners who are still working through the 14.5 changes. But really, though, the most instrumental way and most important thing for maximizing player LTV for ad-supported games, and this was out even before the 14.5, 14.6 rollout, is to split out your waterfalls and have one running for IDFA and one running for LAT, and then adjust them accordingly. A few quick tweaks, even just segmenting them and pausing off anything that's pretty obvious, should bring in a 15 to 20% lift. That's just easy, low-hanging fruit. And then additional things, we've looked outside of your in-app stuff. Obviously, Apple Search, things like iQuit's business have been really helpful. I think that's probably the most concise way of putting it.
Sounds great to me. Thank you for that. Let's talk about the future a little bit. Marcus, how do you think the industry will continue to evolve in the next few years?
Yes, that's a great question, and probably the most controversial part of maybe what I'll say today. But I think for me, just seeing really the kind of, again, the speed of business and how it is maintained as we move forward. I think when I look at the variety of app developers, I think I see them working to get closer to their audiences. Right now, there definitely seems to be middlemen in a lot of cases, right? And so when you talk about all these different changes, whether they're policy related, privacy related, legal, I think that all those things speed, or I guess take away speed, if you will, from being able to connect UA to monetization and really have those profits. And so like I really look to see those two things get closer. And I don't know what exactly that is going to look like, but I know that they will likely be doing it in terms of gaining greater flexibility, right? Being able to bring great content to various platforms, whether that's in the form of an app, an applet, a cloud, cloud access, like all those types of things are where I see it going. I definitely can't predict who's going to be a winner and all that. But I know like at Facebook, right, we're definitely working to give publishers those options as we move forward to make sure that they are the closest ones to their audiences at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I could, obviously, with IDFA being such a hot button topic, how do you think the industry will continue to evolve? Let's also throw in, since we talk so much about iOS, any predictions, any feedback on Android as well for marketers that are watching us?
Yeah, I mean, like, so what I see that is like, I mean, some sort of thanks to the COVID, we have some of those experiences, and I mean, we can't take our people in our office back because they say, okay, that's not gonna happen. And the same thing is like for everyone. Now, I feel that is like market consolidation. I'm a big fan in favor of it. And then if we see the market, also real estate investors who can understand our business better. I mean, now we see that like, AppLovin's public company and other companies going to be the public, and also the when we see that how much the dollar is spent for EdTech and MarTech last almost 10 years, and then lead to some sort of innovation. But now with the players like an Apple and Google is just taking more initiative, and then they're just like seeing that, okay, you know what, this is something to be sort of like this and that way. I'm talking very simplified version of it. I see that as like the end users will get more benefit, and I also see a lot of the non-game apps, which is actually they're like a little bit the shadow of the game apps, but they will also figure out this is like, especially the brands and then big spenders, they'll have the mobile like very first channel, because this is technically the only option left. And high level, I can see these entire market and one single dashboard. That's what I said. Like we'll definitely go to places to take care of your app growth solution. You'll focus your product. You'll focus your content, and then the rest will be taken care of those one single dashboards. That's how I do feel that.
One single dashboard is something that I've been saying for the last couple of months. So I'm glad to hear that someone else also highlighted that. That's great. Automation of growth, evolving along with our customers, and also the technology and everything that's changing. I think that's the nature of mobile at the end of the day, right? It's very resilient. Dom, anything you want to add regarding the predictions?
Oh man, I can go on and on about this. How much time do we have?
We actually have some time, so I'll give you 5. How about that?
Oh wow!
Okay.
You get your own 5 minutes of fame. Let's talk about the future.
I probably won't take that long. Again, just putting that there. Any opinions I put out are mine. Do not represent any of the studios that I'm partnered with. So yeah, the first thing that everyone thinks of when they're asked that question of what is the future of mobile gaming, is consolidation. And this year has been just that. Every few weeks, there's been an announcement of another ad tech company from some corner of the industry joining forces with another. It's going to be interesting to see how these mergers and acquisitions play out. And my prediction here, and I guess I'll be intentionally vague so that I don't go down a big rabbit hole with my answers, is that the user experience of ads will become much better. Not necessarily due to a change in format, But because the algorithms that power networks are getting really good at serving up the right ads to their audience, sitting through an ad won't feel as taxing as it has in previous years. Obviously a long way to go, but when you look at a 3-4 year graph of conversion rates, it's going up and to the right. And I guess, to that, with IDFA and LAT changes, and contextual advertising kind of being where a lot of networks are heading to support LAT. Contextual advertising has always been there, but it's an oversimplified spray and pray method. Even then, there's going to be room to serve up ads more concisely and efficiently. But when you take a step back and look at the industry as a whole, I think we're going to see a lot of people who weren't gamers become gamers, and people who already play a game or two on their phone evolve more than just casual player. There are a lot of reports and studies out there that already show this trend, so hopefully this isn't new, but I think we're going to see it at a faster scale. The talent within some of these studios is incredible, and they're drawing in an audience of people who, will make an hour or two out of their day, will make the time to play their games. And these are people who wouldn't necessarily do so on a console. Not necessarily sure if that's due to how easy it is to play a game on the phone and come back in and out of the experience. But in addition to phones and mobile devices becoming cheaper and better quality for gaming and consuming content, the games are just becoming so immersive and impressive. And I think distribution is currently the biggest hurdle to getting content out there and in the hands of folks. But again, challenge, change, bring out innovation. Personally, I'm looking forward to seeing other distribution channels, emerge and hopefully allow games to get out there that aren't just pumped by advertiser dollars to actually be recognized due to the quality of them. So I think, Facebook is a gaming platform. I think Snapchat's working on something too. I think it's called Games on Snapchat. It's going to be cool seeing how both of those platforms evolve. And I think they're both poised pretty well to take on, the social aspect of mobile gaming.
That's interesting. Well, I think you took the full 5 minutes, Dom. So thank you very much for that. Jokes aside, thank you guys all for joining. Appreciate the time, and hopefully our audience found the session useful with all the tips and tricks that we have shared today to sustain a healthy, ad-supported, privacy-centric ecosystem in 2021 and beyond. Thanks again for joining, and have a wonderful week.
Thanks for having us.
Bye, guys.